Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of the 2026 World Cup Virtual Speaker Series. I'm pleased to moderate tonight. My name is Joshua Peng. I'm a student at the George Washington University in DC, where I'm pursuing a graduate degree in sports management. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is poised to supercharge soccer's growth in the United States from the youth to the pro level. I'm joined tonight by Liam Coffey and Tommaso Lami, teammates on the George Washington University men's soccer team. Both have global backgrounds and a wide range of experiences as young professionals in the sports industry. They're here to share perspectives on how FIFA shaped their soccer journeys and how the World Cup will shape youth soccer in the U.S. For years to come. Liam and Tommaso, welcome. And if you could share a bit about yourselves to start, tell me about your journeys through soccer. How has FIFA shaped your experience both as players and as fans? Liam, we'll start with you.
So thanks for having me, Josh. I am from America. I grew up in America my whole life, but I have very close ties back to Ireland with my dad. So the World Cup has really shaped how I grew up as a soccer fan or football fan. I remember the 2010 World Cup very clearly, even though Ireland didn't have much of a part to play. But that really cultivated my love for the game because my dad was very motivated to watch, and I felt very obligated to follow along. I also grew up with a lot of people from very diverse backgrounds, from Europe, from South America. So I was very intertwined in the game, and I kind of lived the game growing up. And that pushed me on to pursue a youth career and into college career playing soccer. So I am from New York, just north of New York City, and I played for a team called Beachside. It's in Connecticut, about 40 minutes north of me. And I played there for most of my youth career up until I was 17. And then I got the chance to go play at Sporting Kansas City, an MLS Academy team, for a year, where I had the opportunity to play with the under-19s team, and I got some time with the second team. So that really gave me the perspective of a youth system and also a development academy system, where I got to see both sides, where you're developing to become a better person, but also in the MLS system, you're developing to become a professional player at some point. So my journey throughout my youth life has been wrapped up in that. And, I can say I live and breathe the game now. So how the World Cup has shaped that, the 2010, like I said, World Cup was my starting point. And I feel like every World Cup since, I've become even more intertwined in the game, meeting people along the way, and, developing that global background I have now.
Great. Thank you, Liam. Now, moving from the U.S. all the way to Italy, Tommaso, could you tell us a bit about your journey?
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Liam. So I'm Tommaso Lami. I'm from Italy, Bologna, which is in between Florence and Venice, if you guys don't know. My dad is from Rome, which leads me to be a Roma fan. So I started my career, obviously, in Italy. I lived in Italy for 18 years, and I played professional there for 6 years at the Bologna Academy, until reaching the first team, and playing in trainings with them, understanding what the real football is, and the big level of the Serie A. And then at 18, I decided to move and go to the United States to have a balance between my academics and my soccer career, which obviously college gives this opportunity. In Italy, it's a little bit different, but we will talk about it later. So yes, I decided to go to Northern Michigan University, which is in the UP, where I started my American career, and I played a lot. I had so much fun. I had the opportunity to graduate in economics and marketing, and then decided to transfer and go to George Washington University to do my master's in sport management, where I'm currently in. And yes, well, obviously my perspective will be a little bit different because Italy hasn't been in a World Cup since 2014. So the only ones that I can remember are 2014 and 2010 a little bit. But obviously coming from the 2006 World Cup, where obviously Italy won. In Italy, there was this boom of soccer, football I would call it, actually calcio in Italian. But yes, obviously, 90% of the kids in Italy, they play soccer. Um, it's the dream of everyone to become a soccer player, but not many um, reach this dream. Um, but obviously, the FIFA World Cup has always been a dream for me and for my family. Um, and it's obviously something special that will always be my dream in the back of my mind. Um, but yes, in that perspective, maybe I have less influence than maybe you guys, Liam, about how FIFA shaped me, because obviously it's been some 10 years that Italy hasn't been in World Cup. Hopefully, this is the right year. But yes, obviously I have the perspective of the American collegial um, background, and obviously the Italian professional background.
Sure. Thanks, Tommaso. So, um, as you can see, throughout this FIFA series, we've been bringing together speakers to talk about the global impact of the World Cup. And now we have two people from the pitch, perspectives from the pitch, to give us some insight on what the impact of the World Cup is for soccer players themselves. Now, if you're just talking to somebody who has no idea of the U.S. university soccer system, but maybe are familiar with the European academy system or different structures around the world, what could you tell them about the U.S. system, maybe how it differs, some similarities, and some nuances about perhaps do you see those differences on the women's side as well? Could you share some insight about the U.S. collegiate soccer system?
Yeah, so I played my first 4 years in college at this small school called Holy Cross. It's in Massachusetts, just about 45 minutes west of Boston. How I would say it differs is the U.S. system, U.S. university system, values education to a very high degree, as well as the soccer side, whereas the European system is very driven to develop professional players. Now, that's not to say that the U.S. system doesn't look to develop professional players, because there are countless players at the highest levels in college soccer that are looking to become professional players as well. But there's a real value and balance between the two. I would say the strengths of the U.S. system would have to revolve around the fact that you get that balanced opportunity, because whether you like it or not, it's very challenging to become a professional player, and really only the best of the best get to be able to do that. So the U.S. system provides that opportunity that if you are unable to continue beyond, you can have a valued and important education to keep pushing you on. Now, the strengths of the European system, in my opinion, is that you're able to have that direct pipeline through to a professional team. Like Tommaso was talking about, he went through the Bologna system, and there was a clear pipeline for him to be able to get to that professional level. Whereas the university system kind of seems like a step to the side, instead of continuing up that linear path. So when I was at the MLS Academy Sporting Kansas City, there was a direct pipeline between the under-19s, the second team, and the first team. Whereas college stands as a step this way to then potentially be able to step back towards the professional level. So college doesn't afford you that opportunity for the direct pipeline, but that doesn't mean that there's not the opportunity. So I think both have their strengths and weaknesses, I would say.
Yeah, thanks, Leo. Could you actually share a little bit more about how your experience in the U.S. Academic soccer system informed your time at Sporting Kansas City and vice versa?
I would say the time that I've had in the U.S. system, especially collegiately, has helped me develop myself holistically and more like become a well-rounded person. I'd say it could be seen as a strength as well, but the MLS system at Sporting Kansas City really values making you the best professional player possible, working you as hard as you can as a player, but doesn't always value developing you as an entire person. So I think what I've been able to learn in college has helped me, continue on and pursue things further on in my career that maybe I wouldn't have learned. But then again, the time that I had in the professional system, I'm sure Tommaso can speak about this to a much higher degree, has really helped me, develop skills within myself of resilience, determination, hard work, and, confidence in myself to become the best version of myself, whether that's on the field or that's not.
It's all very interesting. Yeah, so going to Tommaso, Italian fans, as you mentioned, are very hopeful for the country's return to the world stage after years of rebuilding. Now, as someone who's been through the Italian development system, having heard Liam's perspective from the U.S. development system, what can you say about the World Cup as a driver for youth soccer in your home country? And just take us through your path a little bit more.
Okay, so regarding the first question, obviously the FIFA World Cup has a big influence on everybody. This is right now, after 10 years, has been an Italian dream, while before it was a must. Italy had to be in the World Cup. Obviously, it's the second most World Cup winner. The first time that we didn't reach the World Cup, it was a failure, obviously, and now it's becoming a dream, which is it's a little bit weird because obviously Italy is a big nation. It's supposed to be there. It's supposed to arrive till the last stages. Obviously, we won the Europe a couple years ago, not this Euro, the past one. So after the qualifiers, we were sure that we were gonna be in the World Cup. But right now, as I said, it's becoming a dream, which leads a lot of kids to dream about it, to cheer for Italy, to support Italy, and it's actually crazy because obviously after the first time that we didn't reach the World Cup, the Italian federations understood that there was something wrong with the Italian system, starting from the youth teams to the first teams, to the relationship between the two of them, to obviously how it's managed. And what I can say from my perspective is that in those years, in these 10 years, there has been something different that I feel like has influenced Italy not being in the World Cup, which is buying a lot of players from other nations and developing them, even in the early stages. So, for example, I've been in Bologna for 6 years, and even in under 14, under 15, which we're really, really young, they decided to go buy from foreign countries and develop kids from other countries, which is obviously gonna be helpful for the team because they might be the best in their countries, but at the same time they're not developing their homegrown players, which is also something that all the other countries are doing, and this might have led to not us not being in the World Cup as well. And the same with the first teams. First teams are 90% foreign players, which obviously it's a high level, so you have to have high standards as well. But at the same time, back in the day, there was a rule where there was a specific, like, there were a maximum amount of foreign people. So obviously, the Italian federation would gain from that, and Italian players would grow. But years after years, this rules started to become less and less and less effective, and now we can see Italian teams with 9 out of 11 players in the starting lineup
Sure.
that are foreigns. So I feel like this obviously has shaped our growth in the national team.
Now, I'd be very interested, now following up on that, to hear coming from your perspective, having been in that kind of competitive sort of the type of system that would bring in 15-year-old foreigners into the system, perhaps fast tracking some development, but also cutting it off for others at some parts. What perspective did you have when you came to the US? I'm sure there was some culture shock, and I'm sure the approach that you noticed here was very different from what you experienced in Bologna.
Well, I have to say that the US system is really similar to the European system from this perspective that I give, because obviously you can see individual teams that there are a lot of foreign players. I'm one of them, obviously. At Northern Michigan University, we were probably 60%. But at the same time, the difference is that there are so many teams that Americans can still do their thing. They still can shine because there are so many teams. There are obviously 50 regions. In Italy, there are 30, 40 professional teams. Here you have in literally just one region. So obviously when I came here in the United States, it was obviously a cultural shock, hearing all the different accents and coming from a professional background and going there, seeing people with a completely different mentality. I'll give you an example. In Italy, coaches are really they have a really strong mentality. So if you don't win, if you tie, they're obviously gonna scream at you, say personal things, which is in the United States, it's obviously considered really far. Like, and obviously I was a 14, 13, 15 years old, getting screamed at from 40, 50 years old. Obviously this builds your character, but at the same time I'm glad that I came to the United States, because from this perspective there is a lot more respect, and a lot of more rules regarding these things. So even when we lost, even when there was always this positive side of things where we could learn from, um, which gave me a different perspective of how I live my life, how I see things, um, a more chill perspective. Because obviously in Italy we were taking things so seriously, even when we were 14, 15, when we just had to play, we just had to have fun, you know. Um, and so I'm glad that I came here to the United States, because as Liam said as well, it made you grow a lot, because living by yourself, um, it shouldn't be underestimated, um, because you learn a lot from living by yourself to having relationships with people outside the campus, teammates, you know, maybe being the captain of the team, where you have to kind of manage everybody inside and outside the field. That's also another thing that I see, another difference, because obviously in the professional background in Italy, you just play with each other. You don't go to school with each other. So you just see your friends only in the pitch, only in the locker room. So you have a different type of relationship than having the same exact friends in college, going out with each other, seeing them every day, maybe also in class. So, for example, I was the captain of the Northern Michigan University team, and I had to manage players inside but also outside the field. I had to make sure that they wouldn't fall off with grades, and obviously they would study, doing a lot of things that I was not doing while I was in Italy. But I feel like the US has a more um, a mature side than Italy.
Thank you for that. Really appreciate you both sharing your individual experiences in the U.S. system. Of course, Tommaso coming from outside and integrating into it, Liam being developed through it in your entire journey. Now, looking big picture, the FIFA World Cup coming to the U.S., North America broadly, but with many venues in the U.S., will be sort of a benchmark for the U.S. development system, so a place for the U.S. to showcase its developments as a soccer country. Um, what are you looking at, Liam, and then Tommaso, in terms of benchmarks for the U.S. to evaluate the success of the system in the competition itself?
I think this is an extremely exciting time we have in U.S. soccer. We had the Club World Cup last year, and now with this World Cup coming up, as an American, you're feeling the progression of this team on the field, and you're seeing us grow as more. I'm not going to say that we're a part of the elite teams, but we're growing, and you can feel that we're starting to get there with the influence of our top players. So I guess some benchmarks that I'm looking at to determine success is, I would say, first on the field, you need to have a successful group stage, get through and into the knockout stages, hopefully getting past the round of 16, because we understand the magnitude of some of these teams around, and with potentially Italy joining the fray, there's talented countries in this World Cup. Then I would say also looking at comparing to how we've developed players, is there's a lot of players that have moved at young ages to Europe to play, the likes of Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie. They're both playing in Italy now, and they've moved on out of America at younger ages. But we're also starting to develop a lot of players within the United States that are getting chances and making impacts with the U.S. men's national team now, and even with the under-23s U.S. men's national team. So I think if we can have influence and a competitive group that's mixed with not only guys that are in Europe and have experience against the teams we're going to be playing against around the world, but also guys that have developed through the United States, maybe are even playing in the United States now. And if they can have an impact and make this group better, that's what's going to be, I would say, important for me when we're looking long term. Because a lot of the success that the U.S. has had in the past World Cup and previous competitions we've had have been heavily reliant on guys that play in Europe and have developed since at least maybe 16 in Europe. But now if we're starting to see guys developing in the United States and then eventually maybe moving on to Europe, but having impacts with the United States because of what they've learned in the United States, that's going to be paramount for us, because, you know, we do want to be a successful national team, but we also want to be able to develop our own players and become the best that we can. So
sounds like development through either professional teams or the academic system, that's going to be key. Tommaso, could you maybe expand on what Liam said? I know you're probably checking your own benchmarks for the Italian squad as well, but what are you seeing for the U.S.?
Well, I would say this. Europeans are really, really scared of the United States from this perspective, because we see how fast US is growing on the soccer side. We see all the investments that they're doing. So, and we know that financially we can compete. So, what my perspective is that eventually the US will be on the big fives, and even probably the best team um, in the World Cup, and so. But it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, and I feel like this World Cup could be um, influencing this growth a lot, especially for little kids that they start to watch football, soccer, hockey, lacrosse, and they have the opportunity to finally watch soccer from live. Because what I've heard from my American friends is that um, 10, 15 years ago, it was really, really hard to watch European games, there were probably like one or two websites or like one or two places where you could look at, but it was really really hard. So it's not like Europe that everywhere you go there's a TV going on where you can see a Serie A or something. Um, so I feel like now is the time um, where US has to grow, and soccer especially. Obviously, as Liam said, there was the now it's going to be the World Cup, but it was also the Club World Cup, and let's not forget that in 2028 there's going to be the Olympics, where also there's going to be soccer. So I feel like these 3 4 years are going to decide um, the short term future for the United States, where kids are gonna be dreaming about becoming a soccer player instead, maybe a football player or a hockey player, which makes a really 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 big difference.
Sure. Could you actually expand a bit about what you were seeing in terms of these investments? You mentioned Europeans are are perhaps scared of what the U.S. is growing into. That's very encouraging as an American. Um, but would love to know a little bit more about those specific investments. What are you seeing that perhaps the Europeans, in your estimation, are not necessarily going to be able to keep up with if America can continue investing in its soccer infrastructure?
For what I've seen personally, being for example at Northern Michigan University is a D2, and the infrastructures were insanely better than many Serie A teams, which is crazy because obviously we were a collegial D2, um, and what I've seen, because obviously I had a really good relationship with my coach, and Northern Michigan University was trying to grow as much as possible in those years. The how easy investments are easier, let's say, investments are made in the US compared to Italy. For a football pitch, you would need in Italy we probably need 3 years 4 years, because a lot of regulations and everything in the United States is asked, and let's say there is a budget and it's like this, you can get it. But I've also been playing with the Los Angeles Galaxy for a summer, and I can see how important is the youth academy, and how big is the are the infrastructures, how many fields are there. You can see also, for example, there's a new project in Houston called Free Kick Soccer Program, and it's being all over the news also in Italy, because we know we can compare with that. We can just for example, they give 1,500,000 in scholarships for young players, or they build 23 full size pitch, which in Italy to build one pitch is gonna it's gonna take a long time. And obviously with TikTok, with Instagram, with influencers, we can see that it's a completely different world. It's a bigger world. Um, they just US just do things better. They do things more specific. They invest more, and so yeah, I think this is a key um, that is going to influence the future for US.
Sure. Thanks for that perspective. Now, building off of what you just said about social media culture, pop culture, um, I wanted to know, not just going off of the pitch a little bit, looking into the cultural sphere, what kind of growth are you seeing in the U.S. Around the World Cup, even before it? I've seen, when Messi came over to Miami, right? All of a sudden, every other kid that I saw, even in places like ice arenas or
Yeah, I think we lost Josh. Um, but Liam, I wanted to ask you a question about maybe your experience at Kansas. Like, what's the difference between the collegial side and, for example, the professional team in Kansas? Like, especially infrastructures, investments.
Yeah, I would say the like you talked about, the infrastructure that we were afforded was absolutely incredible and something that I think I never even thought I could have the opportunity to be a part of when I'm in a youth system. And compared to college, the perspective is a lot different because the Sporting Kansas City system, you never had to really pay for anything, and everything was free. But now, compared to college, we're able to we had to fundraise and be involved with more of those things. So
And do you think the World Cup will change how American kids view soccer compared to sports like football or basketball?
I'd really like to think so. Like we were talking about, this is an exciting time, and you alluded to it as well. I think what we can see if this World Cup proves to be a great success, and not only for the U.S. but for creating this massive event, you will see younger kids now looking to 3, 4, 5-year-olds when they're looking to find their first sport to go into playing soccer and seeing how enjoyable it can be, how uniting it can be, and that anybody can really go and play it. And I think that's just going to help soccer continue to grow because you can see compared to the other major sports in America, like football and basketball and baseball, soccer is really growing. And this World Cup here can be a major turning point to help us, grow this sport and really make it the biggest sport in America, not only just the biggest sport globally. So, all right. And then Tommaso, for you, having grown up with a global soccer perspective, what stood out to you most about the American soccer culture when you first entered it a couple of years ago?
So obviously, the first thing was, as I said, the positivity all over the places, and the fact that people actually cared about your success in the field. I would say, for example, professors. Um, in Italy is completely different. We don't have colleges. We don't have colleges teams. We don't have high school teams. So our process is you either are in a professional academy or a non-professional academy, and you play for the team. And this is one part, and then you have school on the other part, but they're not connected. In the US, obviously, you have high school teams, you have college teams, university teams. So it's um, it's it's completely different, and we don't have dorms. We don't have so like building a relationship in college is obviously shaping everyone's idea about sports. For example, I had my professors coming to my games, um, and obviously, for example, when I went to class the next day after a goal, they would just come to me and be like, "Oh, I saw your goal," and which is really really nice. They support you a lot, and it looks like we are a big family. In Italy, I was in a high school, a sports science high school, which was one of the first ever made in Italy, and it was supposed to be for people that play professional sports. So there was a selection. Obviously, people that maybe had less times than others for studying and had obviously to travel and to miss classes and everything. And even if I was in the school where they were supposed to support you um, as more as possible, I didn't feel supported. I felt like an outsider. I felt like the fact that I was a professional player was against me. They had a misconception, so they will think that I didn't want to study, I didn't want to do this, I didn't want to do that, and it went actually against me. Every time that I was talking about Bologna, they would look at me like, "Well, you have to set your priorities. School has to be your priority." And in the US, it's completely different because they don't just so they also support you in what you're doing. It's not just they accept it; they support you, which is a big deal for players. So yes, I feel like US is so far ahead than at least Italy on this side.
That's great perspective on how the U.S. system develops, not just your approach on the field, but off of it. Thank you both also for continuing while I had some connection issues. Clearly, media training is part of your soccer development here. Looks like we've got a couple more questions in the chat. Let's start with how important do you think international experiences are for young American players today? Liam, let's start with you.
I would say international experiences are super important. I was very fortunate growing up as a young American player to get the chance to go on these select trips, they would call it, to different countries. So I've been able to fortunately go to like Barcelona. I've been to Argentina to play. I've been to Sweden. So those experiences really gave me the perspective of, I would say, what Tommaso kind of lived every day. You have, growing up in Italy, you have these guys that live, breathe, and die for this game, and being able to come up against that, experience that, and be within, you know, a massive environment that has all of these, you know, kind of intangible skills that you develop in these professional systems in Europe is something that I would not have gotten if I stayed only playing in America, because it's just not like that in America. You don't have that, you know, die for your team kind of mentality. So being able to understand those experiences and be a part of it, honestly, has really helped me grow as a person and as a player, and be able to interact on the field with you know, international guys like Tommaso and other people in America to, you know, to help us be a better team, and, you know, I guess just be a better person as well.
Sure. We have another question about you're both studying sports management at George Washington as you're playing on the men's soccer team. Could you tell me a bit about how studying sports management in an academic setting has changed the way you think about soccer as a business, not just a game?
Well, I would say it's the fact that I'm studying sport management has helped me a lot to find internships and jobs here in DC. And I had the opportunity. I still have the opportunity. I'm interning at YMU. It's an agency. It's a soccer agency where obviously they give me a lot of tasks, especially regarding what Liam just spoke about, which is international experience for Americans. So, for example, my last project was on American people that came to Europe to grow, and then came back to the United States, or, for example, homegrown people that started in the US, and as soon as they got pro, they decided to go to Europe. And the fact that soccer is not the most important sport here is really challenging, because obviously everything I do in sport management, every project that I do is on soccer, and Liam would vouch for that, because we're always in the same groups, and every time they give us a task, we're doing it on soccer, because also they don't really know about it that much. They're used to football, they're used to basketball, they know everything about it, which I don't. I probably don't even know the rules of football. But yes, so it's hard to maybe get your show your passion for people that maybe never watched a soccer game. But so it's been a little bit challenging on that side, to prove how big and how important soccer is, even for the United States.
Sure. Connecting a bit with the college classes, being on college campus, one of the more peculiar sides to the lead up to the World Cup has been the fact that many college campuses around the U.S. are hosting teams to compete in 2026, all the way from well-known schools to D3 programs to even prep schools. I think there's one not too far away from us in Virginia. I think that's just a small snapshot of ways that the U.S. college system is interacting with FIFA. But could you, perhaps Liam first and then Tommaso, just expand on what these syntheses could mean for colleges, not just the highest level programs, but even prep schools, the connection with FIFA as different venues across the country are getting to know the game, not just on the pitch, but in their communities, on their campuses every day.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating seeing some of these national teams ending up at, like France is going to be at Babson College, supposedly, and that's a small campus. So I think it's really interesting to see how this it's a unique connection that we're finding between colleges and FIFA. And, I think like Tommaso and I have been speaking about, through most of this, is this interaction between the college system and FIFA or the international community is just going to be super beneficial because, you have on much smaller scales in preseasons for some of these bigger teams across Europe, they sometimes will come over the summer to the United States and play and train at like UCLA, for example. So you have that connection on a smaller scale, but seeing this with FIFA on a much larger scale will just increase the connection even more. You see with like a small school in Babson being able to interact with French people, the French national team, it'll just support growing the two of them together and, hopefully just make more and more people interested in the game of soccer and recognize that from an international perspective, the game is really growing in this country. And with this infrastructure that's available, we're just going to continue to grow and hopefully be able to compete on a much higher level against the rest of the world.
Great. Now, I think as we close out soon here, we have a few people who are wondering about what all of your experiences are doing to inform your next chapter. So we've got a question about how you've been able to balance playing Division I soccer and developing your careers. We've got a question about how soccer's opened up doors for you. I'll give you guys the floor. Let's start with Tommaso. Just looking beyond the pitch and into the next chapter, what is soccer doing for you?
Well, as I said, for example, right now I'm interning at a YMU, which is a soccer agency. So obviously all my background in soccer has been helping me. All the games that I watched, all the videos that I watched, everything is helping. And I understood from being part of this environment that I wanna work in soccer. If I'm not gonna become a pro soccer player, I wanna still work in this field, in this world, because it's a beautiful word. It's a really challenging word, and it's a really fast growing word. So you never know what's gonna happen next. And obviously, being part of a team, being able to, as you said, balance school, work, soccer, obviously life outside, so friends, family, has been really, really challenging, especially for an Italian guy that came to the United States and didn't really speak English that much. So being away from your friends, your family, has been really, really challenging, I have to say. But everything helped, and thanks to that, I am the person that I am right now, and I'm really proud of my path, of all my mistakes, of all my successes, and so yeah, what I can say is that obviously life is gonna put you down sometimes, but you just have to keep going, and I feel like the collegial environment is the best school for growing as a person and obviously as a player.
It's very inspiring. I mean, what you're saying about taking the hits along with the misses, and I mean, so many different ways to get into the industry. I mean, all the way from your playing in the professional system to working at a marketing agency. Um, Liam, give the floor to you.
Yeah, I completely agree with Tommaso. This game has, I would say, given me almost everything that I've been able to have in my life. It's been so ingrained in everything that I do. And I would say first with the balancing collegiate soccer and career development, it's a challenge. And Tommaso said it very well. It requires a lot of discipline, a lot of consistency, and a lot of saying no to some things that you maybe would want to do, or spend time with people that aren't involved in this same system. And it's hard for other people to understand that. But what we've been able to commit to has given us a lot in our lives. And I'm extremely grateful for all of it. So these skills that I've been able to learn even just off of the field, are going to help me so much in my life in terms of discipline, consistency, reliability. Those are things that are just going to help me beyond in the career. And like Tommaso, I want to be involved in soccer in some way, shape, or form. And with this sports management degree that we're being able to get, it's broadened my horizons to an exponential degree with how many different ways I can go into the game, being involved on the sporting side or not. There's so many different avenues, and it's really actually exciting to continue to work towards things. And, life will go on after playing at some point in your career. So it's important for you to be able to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there's some extremely exciting things in this sport, especially in America, and just with how it's growing. So that's super exciting. And then I guess a moment where soccer has opened a door to something that I wasn't expecting has really just been this program in its entirety. I've been able to see new exciting chapters that I want to explore as a career or as an interest. New people that I'm able to meet along the way that will help myself, or that I can help in some way, shape, or form. So it's incredibly exciting. And even though it's been a grueling collegiate career, especially with, injuries or different challenges or different hits you take along the way, it's hard to say. I would never trade any of this for the world, because it's helped me learn so much about myself and helped me become a better person, which is really the most important thing for me at the end of the day.
For all the experiences that you guys have shared, it sounds like your journeys are even just getting started with soccer. It doesn't have to be on the pitch; it can be anywhere. So I think some of the members of our audience, perhaps, are interested in pursuing paths similar to yours. Perhaps trying to break into the sports industry, learn more about it. Is there a piece of advice that maybe you received, or that you just have developed in your time as you've navigated soccer, sort of pivoted in different ways, that you could impart to those members of our audience? Let's start with Tommaso.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? I didn't really hear it.
Sure. I think many members of our audience today are maybe interested in pursuing a career in sports, or just interested in learning more about what that industry might look like. Is there one piece of advice that maybe you picked up along the way, or that you developed, that you could share, that was very useful to you?
Well, obviously, what they have to know is that soccer is a really, really challenging word. And one day you're the star, the other day you're nobody. So like it's really really evil. It's a really really evil sport, I have to say. It's the best sport ever, but at the same time it's really really challenging. And you just have to have a great mentality, and even when you do a mistake, as I said, you just have to let it go and keep going with your life. Don't take things personally, especially from your teammates. They just want the best for you. um, so what I can say is that if you want to become a soccer player, you will have to go through mountains, and obviously it's not easy, because if it was easy, everyone would be a soccer player. And so yes, the only thing that I have to say is that don't let anything put you down. Not even injuries. We both had really really big injuries. Me and Liam, he did his ACL probably twice, if I'm not wrong. And now is out because of a shoulder injury. And and we had to watch trainings from outside for the past 4 months. So I obviously had a big injury. I said 1 year out because of ankle. I had shoulder as well. I had muscles injuries. And when you come back, you just have to be stronger and remember who you were before. And I feel like we both did a really really good job in doing that, because we kind of did an upgrade from a D2 team to a D1 team after those injuries. Is not really easy. So you just have to keep going, whatever is happening to you.
Sure. And Liam, one piece of advice that you picked up along the way or that you've developed, not just about soccer, perhaps, but like the sports industry as a whole.
Yeah, I can reiterate almost everything that Tommaso said. One thing I would add is just to be absolutely fearless. There's going to be so many challenges or opportunities that are going to be in front of you that you may look at and be like, maybe I shouldn't, or maybe that's a little nerve wracking. But the biggest regret you'd have is not going for it. There's been opportunities that I've had in my life when I was younger where I was incredibly scared to go after it off the field, or even on the field, being confident and taking things on by myself. Those are the kind of skills that can really help you, because when you move to, looking at the sports industry as a whole, being fearless and putting yourself out there and showing what you can do is a skill that everybody's going to value. So if you can find ways to, conquer that fear and really just believe in yourself and have no fear, that's going to take you a long way. But rather than just being super talented or something, being fearless, I think is really crucial.
Amazing. Okay, so we've talked a lot about soccer, talked a lot about your professional experiences, talked a lot about what you're doing in sports management. Let's end off with something fun. What is your favorite soccer memory from when you were a kid? Let's start with Tommaso and with Liam.
So I have to say my favorite moment right now, if I think about it, is obviously seeing my dad and my mom on the stands every single game, taking time off their work and their busy schedule. And I have in my mind, I have this tournament, this professional tournament when I was in Bologna, where there were a lot of professional teams from all over Europe, and we were kind of the underdogs. And we reached the final against Sassuolo, and I had the chance to win the Golden Boot for the most goals scored, and I was for the first time captain of the team, and it was just a special thing. And then after a week, Nike called me and they wanted to sponsor me, so it was just a great moment that I will never forget. But as I said, for me the best thing is to see my family on the stands. And right now that I'm really far away, they still look at the lives and all the matches that I play. They came here 2-3 times just to see me play, and obviously being with me. And obviously, it's from that side, it's been really really easy to have that kind of support. And so yes, probably just seeing my parents on the stands, which I miss a lot.
That's lovely. I mean, it's not a short flight coming out from Italy to DC to watch soccer, so it shows how much it means to your family. Liam.
That's a tough question. I would say when I was 16, so about 7 years ago, we were playing against this team called Montreal Impact. It's an MLS team in Montreal, Canada, obviously. And I scored the winning goal right at the end of the game. And that was a really great moment. I'm not as attacking of a player as Tommaso, so my goal catalog isn't as deep as his, let's say, but that moment was really exciting. And, I really felt like I was on top of the world. And like Tommaso's talked about with his family, my family were in the stands, fortunately. So that was, a really great moment. But it's hard. It's really hard to pick out one because, I've been fortunate to have a lot of great moments, whether that's like that scoring or just having people, supporting me or being around my family all the time and my friends. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, Liam. Tommaso and Liam, really appreciate your time today talking to our audience about your experiences in the U.S. soccer development system, how you've grown up in U.S. soccer culture, how that connects to FIFA, the upcoming World Cup. For our audience, look forward to March 16th, the next event in our FIFA World Cup 2026 speaker series. We'll be hosting Meredith Geisler, who is a senior sports public relations professional with 30 years of experience. As we've discussed, the 2026 FIFA World Cup, it's an opportunity for hosts, venues, cities from Boston to Guadalajara to market themselves to a global audience. So Meredith will be joining us on the 16th at 7 Moscow time to discuss how different venues and markets are using public relations and communications to publicize their role in the World Cup. For Liam and for Thomas, my name's Josh. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I hope you all have a great week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.